Oh, because the people. So when we understand religion, we should understand that it's just honoring the dead. It's honoring the dead. It's honoring, those who have paved the way. So when we think about Freemasonry is nothing more than doing this right here in modern day time. But as far as black people, why we should exit that system is because it's not set up with us in mind. Remember, it's about swallowing up other cultures. You see what I'm saying? So if it's about swallowing up other cultures and getting them under you, that system is a European system, right? And we will be getting into that because we see that with the Christian system, who took it all under one, right? But it was still the Roman system, the Greco Roman Latin system. And that's why the Freemasons is a pushback. See, they're a pushback group. They like, nah, you know what I mean? Like, we not under you. We got our own kings and stuff like that we could honor. And so that's what we are dealing with here. We gonna take it, about to take it to the top for you again, right? For anybody who's coming in. We are discussing how Adam is the first God of the Bible. It's his exit in Babylon, understanding Judaism and Christianity and Freemasonry. Many people are misinformed when they hear people say the God of Adam, the God of Abraham, the God of Noah, the right. These are actual the God themselves, right? Noah, the God of the seas. He traveled. He was the one who opened up the seas, the floodgates, right? So we're going to get into Adam being the God of agriculture, right? So let's go back into Genesis 2, right? And now, mind you, this is the King James Version, right? So we go down, um, let's see, we'll take it down to Planet of the Film. Let's take it to 2:5. Genesis, starting from Genesis 2:5. Oh, forgive me. Genesis 2:5 reads, and every plant in the field before it was in the earth, and every herb in the field before it grew. And the Lord God not had not created rain upon the earth, and there was not a man to till the ground. Right? So that means that naturally these plants were growing, but there wasn't nobody there to tame the land, right? To tame the land and take control to where you dictated how things grew, right? And so, but there went up a mist on the earth and watered the whole face of the ground. So naturally, dew and all of that was doing its job, right? And the Lord formed man of the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living soul, right? So we know that we have man and woman from Genesis. These are two separate things. Now, because, the earth was just naturally doing what it was doing, right? Now came a group or a man who studied this and learned how to utilize the earth and bend it to his will. Now he can plant things there, have as many as he want, grow, clear out the land. But that took hard work. And so this is what Adam did in Enlil, which we will be getting into, because Adam, if we go into ancient Babylon, Sumerian Texas, we will find who this person really is, because the Bible the Old Testament is based off of this system. The New Testament is basically crumbling it all in one. So it's kind of easier to find, to decipher the New Testament than it is the Old Testament. But once you understand the Old Testament, meaning that once you understand the science of the Old Testament, the New Testament just reveals itself, and Freemasonry revealed itself as you go on, right? So now we know that man and woman in Genesis 1, they were just living off the land in its natural element. Then came a man, right, who saw the ground, saw and studied nature, and he utilized the soil. And so this would be Enlil, or you would call him Adam in the Bible. Right, because remember, in Judaism, we deal with a thing called like the forgotten word, or the changed word, meaning that this word was lost, so you had to use a supplement word. So if Enlil was lost, right, I'm maybe not pronouncing it in its proper form. I'm pronouncing it in the way that I'm reading it. Not to say that that was how. So they, right, would change these words, but still understood its meaning and who they were going and giving these praises to. Its meaning never lost. Its wording did, because of invasions and burning of books and stuff of that nature. Right? So, but there went up a mist in the earth and watered up, right? And then the Lord made man in the dust, right? And so we did cover the man of the dust, right? We covered if woman was God. That whole part right there would play a part in that series that we did, right? Okay. And from okay, and the Lord God planted a garden eastward in Eden, and there he put the man whom he had formed. Right? So this man, Enlil, right? This God, right? Because it's all, remember, it's conflated information, right? So you would have to separate. Right now, you're hearing me mention other things that if you wasn't here earlier, then you didn't catch it. We will be covering it again, right? So here goes a person, right, who's a garden. He places a garden for himself, and in this garden, he's gonna till the land. He's gonna do these things. You know, the story of Adam and Eve and all of those things all play a part in the epic of Gilgamesh. So you would have to have multiple informations laid in front of you in order to not have Babylon, which is conflated information. So you would have to take this information and know how to see it in different areas so that way you can separate the information and you won't be just talking and freestyling, right? Which now right now you might think I'm freestyling until you see, right? So it goes, out of the ground made God, right? God to grow every tree on that is pleasant to the sight and good for food. The tree of life also in the midst of the garden, and the tree of knowledge of good and evil. And the river went out, right? And he's this, that, and the third, accomplished, in the name, of the first, boom, 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 Euphrates, right? Okay, and the Lord took the man and put him into the Garden of Eden to dress it and keep it, right? So this is up to 15, so, right? And so, and the Lord commanded man, saying, of every tree in the garden thou mayest freely eat, but the tree of knowledge of good and evil, thou shalt not eat of it, for that day thou hast therefore shall surely die. So that's something different. We're just dealing with, we're going to get into that as we go on, but like I said, we're not going to conflate information. We're here right now, and we're just dealing with proving that the story of Adam is the story of a scientist and of agriculture who understood how gardening. He made a device, a tool, which is a science. So he was a master scientist. You understand what I'm saying? Right? And so everybody praised him for what he had invented. So to prove this, right? Like I said, we go into, I want to give the Egyptian thing again. Um let's see here. I think this is a good one. All right. Let's see. She's like, these are so far away, but if you look on these, you will see. Just if you ever go and and this is just, you see like the falcon's head, you'll see like a pelican, whatever that is, right? You see the hawk, you'll see the wolf, and right, the cat. You see these animals, and you'll know that these are amongst the domesticated, these right here. And then you'll see other animals, right? If I can let's see, I'm trying to see the ones that have like the hippo and all of that. And well, this ain't it. But when you look at the other animals in the Egyptian, I pull them up whenever needed, right? You look at these animal heads and you'll notice that some animals were domesticated and some were not. And when you look at their affiliation within the realm of heaven and hell, you will see that it was just basically this warning signs of which ones you mess with and which ones you didn't, right? And so this is what we need to understand when we're dealing with their system, right? The first system was nature, right? And this is how we're dealing with Adam, showing that he also was, nature. So we'll come up here, right? Um, go back to Enlil, right? So you see the picture of Enlil right here. As a matter of fact, if you look at what was the movie? Um Doctor Strange. Right? In the movie Doctor Strange, the last one, you will see this statue in the middle of the town. Remember when he Kamara, the girl, and she was in like the Middle East or something like that. You will notice that these two pictures, right? It was like these two statues, and this is one of the statues in which was in the middle of the town as they was flying around, and you see it being destroyed. Remember with the big character, he was running and all of that. If you pay close attention, you will notice that these pictures, these statues is there. Well, Enlil, right, later known as Enlil, is an ancient Mesopotamian god associated with wind, air, earth, and storm. He is first attested as the chief deity in the Sumerian pantheon, but he was later worshipped by the Academians, the Babylonians, the Assyrians, and others. Enlil's primary center of worship was in Uruk. This was a temple in the city of Nepal, which was believed to have been also built by Enlil himself, right? And he was regarded as the mooring rope of heaven and earth. Right, so we will be covering, the Temple of Nepal and the science of this in government, right? And we will be showing this within the Bible as well. We will show you that everything that you will be looking for will actually be explained in totality. So if everybody else to ever say, yo, well, you cannot find this, yeah, you can. And it will be explained if you are willing to open your mind, right? And so, according to one Sumerian hymn, Enlil himself was so holy that not even the other gods could look upon him, right? So he took in the form of the sun. He was so great, like other rulers, other people who were doing things, nothing they did at that time could have a greater contribution than what he did, right? And with that, people set up their gardens. They were able to prosper and just by his studies, right? So then it goes, according to one Sumerian hymn, Enlil himself was so holy that not even the other gods can look upon him. Enlil rose to prominence during the 24th century BC with the rise of Nepal. His cult fell into decline after Nepal was sacked by the Elamites in 1230 BC, and he was eventually substituted as a chief god in the Mesopotamian pantheon by the Babylonian national god Marduk. Right? So now we see that, Enlil, he was very important when it came to the Sumerians. In the Sumerian myths, he was important and the formation, right? And everything. So you see that he was this major figure. He surpassed other people who might have been doing other things at that time, who held that title. And even when, his city was taken down, his legend lived on. Right. So now we're going to go into. Oh, here you go, right here. See, you go, this whole time, remember I was reading it, and it goes like this. Is right here. It goes, played a vital role in the Sumerian creation myth. He created An, which was heaven, from Kai, earth, thus making the world inhabitable for humans. Right? In the Sumerian flood myth, Enlil rewarded Zu with immortality for having survived the flood. And in the Babylonian flood myth, Enlil is the cause of the flood himself, having sent the flood to exterminate the human race who made too much noise and prevented him from sleeping. So as they learned, right, this agriculture thing, they also attributed him to understanding the floods, right? So as we're saying the attributed and blaming him, they're attributing the understanding of the floods, understanding the winds, and understanding when they came, because of him. He knew, right? He knew, the rising tides and these things. He studied those things. And after a while, when we say he, we're talking a unit. It's, this coach, should we say, who kept that studies going, and we'll see in other fields of studies this same cult action. So sometimes cults are not a bad thing, where in other times they are. Again, it goes, Enlil is the cause of the flood, okay. Then it goes, the myth of Enlil and Ninlil is about Enlil's serial seduction of the goddess Enlil, right? But then it goes, as a result, conception of the moon goddess Ninan and the underworld deities Nergal, Ninzu, and Balulu. And Lil was regarded as the inventor of the matlock. Now, the matlock, right, is the plow, right? And the patron of agriculture. And Lil also features prominently in several myths involving his son Nunutria, including Nanzu and the Tablet of Dynasties and Lugal, right? And those are kings, right? And that's like from the beginning, right? So societies was formed, according to this, societies were formed, right, before Enlil, but right, Enlil played the most vital part in that societal structure. Now you also had people who laid the laws and those type of things. You see, we have, the craftsmen who design, this storytelling. Excuse me, this storytelling. And that was a craft. So with this, we see once again how, right, we're going to go into this song, right, of the hoe, which was dedicated to Enlil. Right. The poem composed of a frequent use of the word al, and we're gonna go into the Egyptian, I'm gonna get his name. I'm sorry. I'm just focusing on the Babylonian side right now. The poem is composed of the frequent use of the word al, which means whole. The verb forms and nouns also frequently start with or contain a syllable al or r, suggesting the writer intended it for humor as a sarcastical school text or a tongue twister. The song starts with the creation myth where Enlil separates heaven from earth, and during key, the cosmic Nepal or garden of the gods. And so let's look into the gardens of the gods real quick here, right? Open a new link, all right? So it goes. The concept of the garden of the gods or the divine paradise may have originated in Sumer. The concept of this home of the immortal was later handed down to the Babylonians who conquered Sumer, right? A Sumerian praise is usually associated with the Dilmun civilization in eastern Arabia, right? First suggested geographical location. Okay, the theory was later in Lebanon, right? So we go see Lebanon, Mount Hermon, the Tablet 9, and the standard version of the Epic of Gilgamesh travels to the Garden of the Gods through the cedar forest in the depths of Mashu. The comparable location in Sumerian version is the Mount of Cedar Feeling, right? Okay, the name of the mountain of Mashu as we arrive at the mountain of Mashu, which even every day keeps watch over the rise and setting of the sun, whose peaks reach high as the banks of heaven and whose breasts reach down and northern world. The scorpion people keep watch at its gate. So it's letting you know they had a group of people who lived there, at the around, this way. And as you see, on the top of the mountain, you will see the ice, right? And so they would, depict that as this separation in the two heavens, or, the heavens, the earth, and these type of things, right? Of the jeweled garden of Gilgamesh, because 24 lines of the myth were damaged and could not be, right? The name of the mountain, Mashu, was, let's see, did I get that? I read that already. My fault. Eridu, right? Suggests Eridu, the Sumerian paradise, called it not only the earthly city of that name, but city conceived as lying also within Arabia's, containing a tree of life by the Euphrates River. So as we see this connection with the garden, where this garden is located, and so we can understand, instead of talking in Babel, we're no longer in Babel, right? Now we can see where these locations are, what they mean, and what they represent. The whole song, right? Like I said, you got to remember, when you understand in Babylon, right? You got to understand wisdom, strength, and beauty, right? God. God is wisdom, strength, and beauty. Guma Oz Dubar, right? And inside this wisdom, me performing certain things, I would be, inside the universities, right? And that's universal teachings, right? Then you got who would be funding that would be the king, right? Because along with the art, right, the beauty is going to keep society in 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 line. You know what I mean? Just basically, that's what it's gonna do with this knowledge, with this ruler. That's why they would always go back to Nepal, the kings. That's why they would go back there in order for pardon me here, right? In order for them to be recognized and respected because of, pardon me, because they wanted to be associated with such greatness. You understand what I'm saying? The meaning, weather phenomenon, right? Making Enlil a weather or sky god, right? Because he understood the sky, and he also understood it with nature. He understood the winds, right? Lord of the storms. He could tell you when the weather was about to start changing, right? He understood. He studied these things. And Lil was Adam. So whenever someone says that the Bible ain't real and you can't find these people in these locations, say yes, I can, right? And Lil's name was not a genitive construction, suggesting that Enlil was seen as a personification of Lil rather than merely the cause of Lil, right? Worship. And we see just like with the Masonic temples, right? See how you come in the doors and this, that, and the third. And Lil, who sits broadly on the white dais of the lofty dais, who perfects the decrees of power, lordship, and princeship, the earthly gods bow down and fear before him. The heavens gods humble themselves before him, right? Meaning that the earthly gods had to respect him, because, meaning the kings and all of that, they had to respect him, right? The stars who held the secrets of how to, crop and all of those things, they had to just submit and give him, meaning, not like there was any real people in the stars, but saying that those stars had to submit to his greatness, right? And so, humble themselves before him, right? And that was the hymn, right? And Lil was the patron god of Sumerian city-state of Nepal, and his main center of worship was Uric Temple, located there. The name of the temple literally means mountain house in ancient Sumer, and Urk was believed, right, believed to have been built and established by Enlil himself. It was believed to be the mooring rope of heaven and earth, meaning that it was seen as the channel of communication between earth and heaven. The hymn writers during the reign of Erd Nanmum, the founder of the third dynasty of Uruk, describes the Uruk in great detail, stating that its gates were carved with scenes of Mgudu, a lesser deity sometimes shown as a giant bird slaying a lion, and eagle snatching up a sinner, right? So, right now, you see, now the Sumerians believed that the sole purpose of humanity existence was to serve the gods. They thought that God's statue was the physical embodiment of the god himself. As such, cult statues were given constant care and attention. So the cults would eat off the people because the people would honor them. Like, okay, say I come up with a system for running water, right? So I start the aqueducts. Now the cult is really those who keep the aqueducts running. And so the people want the aqueducts to keep running. So they came up with a thing, the gods, as a way of saying, pay those workers in that field, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? So it's like your taxes for that. So the gods and those people who bring these feast were basically in these food rituals, that was laid out before the god statues, were really going to these workers who kept their system going. you know it was distributed among his priests. So basically meaning the food which was ritual laid out before the gods, cults, statues in the form of a feast was believed to be Enlil's daily meal, but after the ritual, it would be distributed among the priests. So as you see, is basically saying what I'm saying, that once the people brought it to pay homage to the originators of it, those who kept this system going, the whatever system, the priest, the higher ups in that field, they would enjoy this. you know See now, and it says the priests were also responsible for changing cult statues' clothing. So they actually clothed their statues in that time, right? The Sumerian visioned Enlil as a benevolent father deity who watched over humanity and cares for their well-being, because he provided something that was life giving. It wasn't war. It was gardening, eating. You able to know how to do these things. So now you can set your garden up for year round, right? Because now okay, I plant these things at these times over in this part of the garden, and in this section here, and those who did well reap the benefits, but they also had to pay to the king and to those who set up the system that allowed them to do that. So, this is when you think about the Bible and you hear, the best, you had to present the best. So it's layers. Like I said, you got to understand this in layers. You don't understand this in this one format and that's it. Like, okay, yeah, no, you got to understand who God is or gods, this system of cult worship and how these cults work to keep a system in order. It could be, police benevolence. Those could be under, the god of this. You understand what I mean? And so while they're under this system, they're paying homage to that in order to keep that system alive. Right, and so they pay their dues, they get benefits, right, things like that. The Sumerian, one Sumerian hymn describes Enlil as so glorious that even the other gods could not look on him. The same hymn also states that without Enlil, civilization could not exist, right? Without his invention, without Adam tilling the land, without him making, the hoe, which and explaining the science of gardening, making that whole system. Right, I wouldn't, like I said, I wouldn't doubt that he was off on the side somewhere, right? And then they came across him, and he taught them the system, right? And so, this is where they go. Him states civilization also includes titles such as the Great Mountain, right? So then you know where to locate them, right? And king of the foreign lands, right? So you know that, like I said, he was a foreigner. I believe they came across him, and this was how they were, this system and how they were living. And Lil is also sometimes described as a raging storm. So now they affiliate him with nature, right? He's a raging storm in a wild bull, but also as a merchant, meaning that, he dealt with trading because of this ability of abundance. So now we see it's a whole system that was set up. Now, the system, now, was he the one to set up the whole system? Who knows, right? We know that he is associated with the with the device, the hoe, the matlock, right? And from that, it could be these other individuals who, all together made this first culture, right? And we will go on to see these other individuals as we go on. But like I said, in this, we are first just dealing with Adam being the god of agriculture. And the story is nothing more than people speaking in Babylon. They're babbling because they are taking conflated information and not knowing how to separate it to get to the correct information, right? So in Lil, as we see inside this, is this, um, it becomes conflated, right? And Lil himself becomes conflated, right? Because he becomes this great mountain. He becomes this king of foreign lands. He becomes this raging storm. He's a wild bull. That's why you see on the king's crowns, they would have the bulls, and we would get into the Ankh being, the bull as well, right? And, the merchant, he's a merchant, right? Because of this, because he learned how to till the land. Another vital part in tilling the land outside of the matlock is the bull. That's why the bull is such a sacred individual. So yes, the bull would become God as well, because you don't necessarily need to eat the bull, right? You can use the bull so you don't have to till the land, because the bull will do the work, right? And so this science is what, this simplicity now, it was major complexities then, and those complexities still run society today. There is still X amount of land that is placed aside for any community to thrive, whether you have your own um set of land where you put aside and you have for gardening. The 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 government must also place a piece of land to provide, for those same things. And that's why you would see in the Bible the Egyptians with placing, seeds just in case of times of famine. You would have to understand. So when we read, the Bible, we understand it's paying homage. Especially the Old Testament, it's actually paying. It was designed to originally, even though it was stealing their works, right? Because now it's traveling, it's no longer really in control of this originators. Now you have the Greek and Latin writers, so they're keeping the stories to a degree that they know it, but they're, villainizing the ones who they got it from, right? So as you read the Bible, to tell you about these gods and these things, right? But it's not telling you until you do your own research and what is really being said. So I'm giving you the understanding, for right now, I'm proving to you Adam is the first God, and why Enlil and Adam is the same person, and how this is, Judaism and Christianity at its best. All right, let me take a break real quick. Let you know, Street Skelzy, knock him out the box. That's my book. I'm trying to say, hold on, I should have a copy over here. Let me grab my copy of my book real quick. Put this down here. All right. So here's a copy of my book, Street Skelzy, knock him out the box. Don't forget to check it out. As you can see, I'm a well-informed dude. This is over 400 pages, well written. You know what I'm saying? Book. I did the design myself. If you think that the cover is a little shabby, let me see. If you think the cover, I might redo it, or pay somebody. If I didn't say I'm great at everything. You know what I'm saying? But nonetheless, it's about two brothers on opposite sides of the law who team up, in order to find their father's killer or killers. It's a murder mystery, right? So like I said, we're here, I'm smoking, we're talking about this science of Adam being the first God of the Bible. I showed you the art of, right, even inside the song of Ho. So we understand this word play, this tongue twister, these metaphors. That's the art of Judaism in itself. To be able to be speaking one thing while having people think another and have a whole community know what you were saying while having somebody else think, double talk. That's the greatest art of Judaism, right? To come in humble, to have a language in which you are able to talk in front of somebody and have them engulfed in this art, this skill of mesmerism, right? That's the beauty of it. So you willing to use the war, and you got the universal, this understanding. That's the craft of it, and that's how you build this system. It's showing you, is laid out all for you in your eyes, but you have to be able to see it. You have to be able to go, okay, I see what is taking place here, right? What they're doing is they're they're being able to say one thing while saying something different. Talking to you while talking to them. Right. And so you'll see it in these many organizations, right? Even in the Nation of Islam, the 5% Nation, you see it with the Nubian Nation, this language within a language, right? And so that's the art, right? That's an art in itself. To have a language, and within that language, there's another language. You see it in the gang culture with the codes and those type of things. Right? And we'll be getting into that later. But right now, I'm explaining the beauty. Right? Because remember, it's Gumar Oz Dubar. Dubar is the beauty. The craftsmanship of it, of being able to have you spend all of that time, all of those years, right, believing you knew something, and while they were saying something totally different, and being able to control the narrative, to have you do that, because they, while they're talking that, and I'm not even, we're not even talking necessarily the Jew himself if you talk to him, but right, what is given out to the community, right? See, these topics and these things, these worlds that you are entering and you are so gun-ho about, is created. So me, I go to the creators. I don't waste my time with their creation. I'm not impressed with AI. You understand what I'm saying? Like, I'm not impressed with AI. I'm not gonna go, oh wow, yo, the AI said this, because the AI is just gathering of information and just giving it to you in an artificial term. So it's like going to the internet, and the internet knowing what you're looking for, and just giving you a text of it, right? So that's cool if you know what you're looking for. You know what I mean? Like, if you know this stuff right here, and then you go into AI and you questioning it. Hey, is the Sumerian god Adam? They might say, I don't know, I never did it. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying from this, you're learning who Enlil is. You see, I'm going through full Texas, going through taking you through the whole science. I'm going out of my Texas, right? Because I thought I didn't have it in there, right? And then I go, oh, wait, here go to Matlock right here, right? And so to understand this science, this completeness, and how they took one thing and compressed it into a little story, right? And in a way that's in the linguistics of today, right? And so then you would go, okay, that would come from who? King James, right? As far as, not saying he's the first, but as far as being a king, remember we said a king, and making sure that he got his inside the hands, right? And so now inside of that, it's those messages and stuff that are there. Now, those situations is what is used for the woke to cause confusion, right? Because inside of those texts, the woke can go, yeah, look right here in the Bible, it says this. They can transfer things, switch them up, right? Everything inside the world that they created, they dictate, they own the publishing. You understand what I'm saying? They can move and groove. Now you understand a whole system to where everything that you get, somebody else is dictating. That's why social media and all of these places are so important, because now they can serve you the hypnosis in an individual. Remember, it's all mass, right? But now it's individual doses because everybody can walk with their own. Before it was mass through TV, right? Meaning that, family structures would sit down and the whole family would get the dose. This is how it was. Then the families became more one in their own space. They wanted to watch different shows. So now, right, because there was different channel means there's different shows, right? Even though the messenger would be the same, how you get the message and everybody wants their dose differently, right? So now they got this dose, and now they're getting it in their own form, right? So now it was separate TVs. So you still keep the structure, right? The certain channels went to certain age groups. They pandered to certain age groups, right? But you still gonna get your daily dose, right? And now, they moved it to individual, where each phone would get their own individual dose. And now they can set up the chaos, right? The age of enlightenment, the chaos once again ensues, because this information or disinformation periodically from different individuals who work for that system, right, to spread disinformation. Disinformation can cause so much chaos, right? And disinformation can corral a whole group of people as well, right? So the information can 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 throw a monkey wrench, or it can build a whole system. That's why you got like the 85 of the build and destroy, right? So, right, and then it goes, kings regarded Enlil as the model ruler and sought to emulate his example. Enlil was said to be supremely just and tolerant towards evil. Rulers from all over Sumer would travel to Enlil's temple in Nepal to be legalized. Right now, that's important because we see that with the kings and all of that, and we'll get into that system in today's time and see how this still works today. They would return Enlil's favor by devoting land and precious objects to his temple as offering. Right? Nepal was the only small city state that never built a palace. This was intended to symbolize the city's importance as a city of the cult of Enlil by showing that Enlil himself was the city's king. You understand that science, right? So they paid homage to him that even their most, their capital city, their city state didn't have, no palace or nothing in it because it was dedicated to him himself. Like in today's time, you'll see like the Capitol building with the gold dome, right, on it. We'll get into that too, right? But, okay, and Lil himself, okay, even during the Babylonian period, I'll bring this up here for y'all. Even during, where we at? Even during the Babylonian period when Marduk had superseded my fault, superseded Enlil as the supreme god, Babylonian kings still traveled to the holy city of Nepal to seek recognition of their right to rule. Understand these things. Understand what's being said, right? And so we see the importance of Enlil. We see why he's first. We see why Adam is first. We see the identity. Remember, the key thing to understanding in Judaism is the lost word, right? The lost word, Hiram, right? They was trying to get the word. They had the word and actually threw it away. So, right, they had the information. They didn't know they had the information. They tossed it away, and so they was able to rebuild because they didn't get what they thought they was coming for. So even when we understanding now, I'm giving you the full understanding so you would know all of the system. More will be explained to you, but right now, like I said, I'm just breaking down Adam and how Adam is actually the science of a god and not, even though they talk of a god in third person to Adam, we're dealing with Adam actually being the God. And so then we learn the system of Freemasonry, which is double talk, which is double speech or tongue twisters, what we see when we went into the song of the hoe. Right. And so we understand this whole system, right? The storytelling is a part of the art. The ability to keep something alive while burying it at the same time is the art. That's the art right there. That's why you see Hiram being put into a shallow grave. right? And the name was lost, Mahabone. So if you understand that story, then you would understand what I am telling you as we go into these gods, because I will be revealing more gods as we go on. But I just wanted today to be about Adam so we wouldn't be confused, right? Hold on a minute. Let me grab my juice real quick. I'm on my iced tea. All right, all right, all right. Unless you wanna, you're learning multiple things. You're learning how the system works, what it really is. When I say Freemasonry, Judaism, right? Christianity is explaining, basically what they try to compile. They didn't know the science, right? So they just took it, threw it all. They knew bits of it. They knew how to turn Julius Caesar into Jesus Christ, which is Enkidu. And we'll be getting into that. Like I said, all it is are within layers. And if you don't know it within the layers and you're compressing it all into one, then you are practicing Babylon. You know what I'm saying? You're conflating information and you are actually aiding and abetting those who gave you this, who put you in Babylon. Right? They put you in that system. They gave you a system and had you thinking it was one thing, right? Wow. Now again, they'll tell you, okay, yeah, spirituality and worshiping your ancestors, and that's correct. That's what they're doing. But they're not telling you how they're actually shifting you over to another system. They're not telling you that the spirituality system is actually in veil of another system, right? They're not telling you this. They're not telling you that. So I'm giving you the heads up. Let me roll another L right here. Right? Let me um show my book. Street Scalesy knock him out the box. Check it out. Hold on a minute here. Street Scalesy knock him out the box. It's about two brothers from opposite sides of the law who must team up in order to find their father's killer or killers. It's a fast-paced crime saga that goes through, 3, 4, 5 boroughs. You know what I'm saying? A couple of states. You know what I'm saying? It's like I said, it's a good read. I don't want to, because it's a murder mystery, and I don't, and like me, I'm one of them people that reveal a lot, so I'm. You see how much I reveal, so you know what I'm saying. I don't want to reveal too much in the murder mystery. I wouldn't reveal this if it wasn't for people spending all their lives never figuring out, what was taking place. You know what I mean? So me, I just cracked the code. So I'm here to expose the universities and their contribution to this and how they benefit from the wars and the conflicts that's happening because they get the bodies. You know what I'm saying? We see them with the the whole 2 years ago situation, right? So we see the science in it, we see the universities in it, right? The sororities and and the fraternities, how they're under the spell, right? Because this is a spell, this is a science, right? Of of hypnotism, right? This is also, a social experiment through social construct, right? Which is a building of the mind, which is freemasonry, right? To be seen and not seen, right? So we see this system, right? We see this system, and we're missing a lot too, right? Well, y'all missing a lot. I got so much more to show you. After this, you're gonna be so, like I said, you're gonna be like, wow, I didn't know we were under it like that. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, y'all under this. It's more than one thing. And if somebody conflates information and tells you it's, oh, some, you know, s- oh, wait, hold on a minute. It's some esoteric nonsense. That's the people who know the least, or they the ones who's capitalizing off of you know, your belief. You know what I'm saying? There's a system of belief set up, right? Forgive me, I got a roll all messed up here and fix that up. Okay. So we see now that Enlil, right, is a prominent figure, right, which is a man who rose to God status. We know God status is those who were able to place themselves amongst the stars, right? We we see that he's known amongst the stars, wind, and the his attributes rose to such prominence, right? That even when other gods came into prominence or kings came into prominence, other kings would not even, they would still have to, they still accepted the fact that, okay, Murdoch is in place right now, but and Lil is the man. You know what I'm saying? In order for me to say that I'm a ruler, I gotta go and get blessed over here, right? And if you look at the kings and the queens and all of that, they still follow these traditions to this day, right? And so if you want to know this system and if you want to know who's in power, this is how you really track who's in power. You got to know the story, right? Don't let somebody else tell you the story because, right, you find out the story and that way you always up to date because I could tell you the story today, right? But they always updating. So, um 100 years from now, right? You want to be able, to take this information and be able to track it. So I'm showing you how to track it, how to track the information, how to track the players, right? The science of it, because it's not just one thing. Don't not conflate it and confuse those pastors are not understanding the science. They went to school for that, right? Didn't they go to school? Don't they got um um them religious biblical colleges and all of that stuff? You don't think they mastered the game? You don't think, you know what I'm saying? They know what I'm telling you. You think that this is an accident? No, they just swore to the trickery like magic. You don't reveal the secret. I'm not in it. I studied the art. I'm revealing the magic. You understand what I'm saying? I learned some magic. I studied some sleight of hand. Um, like, okay, there's like some magic tricks I wouldn't tell. You know what I'm saying? Not because, for no other reason other than, it's like, it's a magic trick. You know what I'm saying? I paid for those and I agreed to keep those. And see, I didn't pay for this magic trick. You know what I'm saying? I didn't pay for this magic trick. So I can reveal the secret. I took years. You see this? See all this weight right here? I took years studying this magic trick. It's intricate. It's an intricate magic trick that plays a trick on your mind, right? The magic trick is to point at something in the book and tell you a whole story on what it means. You never even read the book. Trick knowledge. Is the magic trick is that's why you can use the Bible and hop from this to this to this, and you look at a lot of these woke dudes on TikTok and all of that. What do? Right? Oh, right here, bang. Then they hop to another book. Then they hop to something else. Then they hop to something else, and they tell you a whole story based on that. They doing the same exact thing as the pastor in Christianity. Programming your mind, moving you with a system, right? Because you have been given lack of information, more concerned with the impression of society over the understanding of society. You see, psychology is not about the impression but the making of an impression through the understanding of the human mind. And this is all connected, right? This is all on the universal side, right? Studying those who are mesmerized by this system, right? And that's why that system can be used, and that's why they can get rid of the Bible, and now the new thing is information itself. That's why I take the time to reiterate, go over it. If people are watching, they get to see it and understand it, like, okay, now You know what I mean? As I'm talking, I might have not said something the first time. I'm saying this time. And that way we can have a full understanding of what we're talking about and how this system works. Right? It's a system of manipulation, right? And so they manipulate you with, the charlatanry of the fast word or words that others will co-sign, whether because they know it fully or because it has become embedded within the community, right? Like talking to somebody, building is a Freemasonic thing or a Masonic thing, right? Building mentally, verbally, instead of physically, right? To say you're the son, and now you got to explain which son. You're not my son because you're mine. You my son because you shine, right? These are word plays, and that's that system, right? To understand that system, right? Then when you are reading this stuff, you don't let somebody dictate for you. I'm giving you the whole thing. I'm showing you what to look up. I'm sitting there talking to you, leaving it on the screen. We're not bumping around. I'm going right. Then we can go into the next part where we went into the song and how I'm explaining this system to you. It's a system, right? And so you understand psychology and you understand word play, right? When we listen to rappers, they gave them the system, right? But they when they did it, say we take the BPM, right? And this is off from the Atom thing real quick, but say we take the BPM, right? In that BPM, right, beat per minute, right? You already set up the N words, those to in that structure, right? So when you took it out of a certain BPM and you put it into another, or you put it into this, now you already have a structure and an energy that is already gonna dictate how you gonna be able to flow to that, right? All you gotta do is dictate the BPM, right? Like, cause you slow it down, it's more love, sensual, sincere, right? Empathetic, right? You understand what I mean? So when the pace, and so this is all by design. That's the art. So you would, what I'm doing is explaining to you the whole system. Because if I just gave you one part of the system, it wouldn't do you nothing. You understand what I'm saying? I could sit there and just had said the atom part, right? But to explain who Adam is, to explain Enlil, to understand how is paying homage just like what you see in spirituality, right? It's just like paying homage to the ancestors, and while stealing your ancestors from you, is coming in a humble form because it's intellect, right? While still having an army just in case, the king, right? And how, this head, this intellect and this art all work together to keep a system going. And when people hear things and when people come across things, they become um engulfed so much in misinformation that when correct information comes, it's too much. Right? Because I just went into psychology, I went into sociology, I went into the science of the Bible, I went into the science of how they flip it, right? I'm going into all of these different things because conflated information. If you ask a Jew and you say to a Jew, is conflated information considered Babylon? He'll tell you, yes, conflated information is Babylon. Meaning that when you take a bunch of information and you make it all one and you assume that it's all one, you will forever be talking in circles. You will forever be going back and forth. That's Judaism, right? What is the Hebrew? Hebrew is to go back and forth. So you understand this system, to do the science, to break it down, to realize the system and understand what I'm just giving you. I'm giving you like the whole thing, right? Let me um pull this up real quick again, right? Cause we over here, we went into right the song. Let me come over here. Pardon me. Okay. All right. So, right. So it goes like the myth continues with the deception of Enlil creating daylight with his hoe. He goes to praise its construction and creation. Enlil mighty hoe is said to be made of gold, with the blade made of lapis lazuli, right? And fastened by cord. Right, so then it goes. It's inlaid with lapis lazuli, adorned with silver and gold, and Lil makes a civilized man from a brick mound with his hoe. He goes, what? He makes civilized man from a brick mound with his hoe. Right now, this is why I said in the other text, is woman God, yes and no, right? So inside that I was addressing, is woman God? It would be yes on one side, because we would see the story, where, Ishtar, grabs the soil, the clay, and she makes man, or she makes a man. This man has happened to be a god, though, right? And we was to take Jesus, right, to be this man, right, who came from a woman, then yes, right? But it's also how Adam was made, right, which would be Enlil. So it's a if you depends, but depends on how you read or take the story, right? So like I said, it's understanding the praising of individuals. That's what it's about, the praising of individuals. right? Dead people are also brought up from the ground by the hoe. With the hoe, a hero honored by and the young brother of Nigal, the warrior Gilgamesh, as powerful as a hunting net. The sage son of Nisam, the preeminent with oars, with the whole, he is the great Kendru, the water courser, right? That's here, right here. Meaning that he's moving the rivers, right? So you know how like a beaver builds a dam. This way you're taking the hole and you're moving the water to use it for your advantage. He used this system. Adam used this system. Enlil used this system, right? So when you're studying this, you understanding what is taking place. It's a person who of agriculture who understood the farming aspects. Before you can do anything else, you have to be that. So even if there was a system that was set up before that, no system could be greater than a system of agriculture, right? And the reason why that system is so important, because we remember we moved out of the agricultural system into the capitalist system. So that's a whole new system. You see what I'm saying? So now you should start to be understanding, and now your research should be opening up. Because with this, you should understand who you are praising, what you are praising, and how it is going down. Like I said, I don't have a problem with people using the Bible to be good and those type of things, but you still should know what you're doing, because you can praise your own grandmother or your auntie, or your father, your grandfather. You could be praising a lot of people if that's the case. You just hear what I'm saying? No, it wasn't Ishtar. It was Enan. Enan who was it Enan who created? I'm not sure. You know what it is. Whenever I get caught in one thing, um, that's where my mind is at. So on this right here, this is what my mind is on, right? The whole makes everything prosper. The whole makes everything flourish. The whole is good for barley. The whole is an overseer. The whole is brick mold. The whole has made people exist. It is the whole that is the strength of the young manhood. The whole is the basket. In the basket are the tools for building cities. It builds the right kind of house. It cultivates the right kind of field. It is you, Ho, that extends the good agricultural land. Do you understand? Do you understand that why Adam is in the beginning of the book? We didn't get into the sin and all of that yet because it's all compound. But do you understand just one side of the story of why Adam was told to till the land? Then we got sin again, who was said, right, to be the one who, the reason for why the flood came, right? Again, going back to Enlil. So we see how this story circulates around an individual. We see it. You can't be blind. It's not like you can't see it now. You can't see the circulation. Anybody with a clear vision should be able to see now that Enlil is, and without a doubt, Adam. And with that, you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna slide up out of here. That's 2.5 for y'all. Peace, people. Don't forget to hit that like, that subscribe, and that notification bell so you can get more content like this whenever I jump up on here and do what I do. Next, I don't know. I don't know what I'm gonna do next. I gotta think about it. All right, peace, people.